History was made in this very spot back in January of 2014 when Mayor Toni Harp was voted in as the 50th mayor for the city of New Haven, Connecticut. Hello, Ethnic Online readers. My name is Leonard Webb, president and founder of Ethnic Online, New England's magazine for ethnic professionals. And welcome to this edition of 5 in 5. We ask 5 questions in 5 minutes to some of New England's movers and shakers. And as mentioned earlier, history was made in this very spot when Toni Harp became the first female mayor for the city of New Haven and only the second African American to serve in this post. I can recall when she became mayor how the city was excited. They were enthused as they embraced the new mayor coming in. So what has happened in the past 19 months since Mayor Harp has taken office? Well, I got a chance to spend a little time with her, and I'd like to share that with our viewers of Ethnic Online. Well, hello, Mayor Toni Harp. How are you today?
How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for taking out some time in your busy day and your schedule to do this 5 in 5 with us. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Now, of course, I've got a chance to know you over the past 2 years, and I've been amazed and humbled, by your whole presence. And I just want to share it with the Ethnic Online viewers so they can see the real Toni Harp.
Oh, thank you.
How about that?
It sounds great.
Okay. So we're going to get started with these questions. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mayor Harp, prior to becoming mayor for the city of New Haven, Connecticut, you served 20 years as state senator for the state of Connecticut. What was your motivation to serve as mayor for the city of New Haven?
Well, I was the Senate Appropriations Chair, and we sent a lot of dollars down to New Haven. And I noticed that the more we sent, it seemed like the more things pretty much stayed the same. So I really wanted to be hands-on so that I could actually help to mold and create the kind of city that I think that we ought to be, so that we could have the kind of programming, the kind of services that I believe the people of New Haven deserve.
Now, was that unique to just New Haven, where the appropriation wasn't consistent or things remained the same?
Well, I think if you look at all of the major cities in Connecticut, you'll see that we really haven't made the kind of progress that the dollars would assume that we would have made, so that we're really not getting the results. The same people who were poor 10 years ago, 20 years ago, are poor largely today. And in terms of groups, populations, maybe not the same exact people, but if you look at African Americans, Hispanics, and the level of poverty in our major cities, it really hasn't changed. We really haven't moved that dime. And I think it's important for us to think about the ways in which we might use our resources better to actually improve people's lives. And I believe that a mayor can do that in a way that a state senator cannot.
Gotcha. More a personal, hands-on approach.
And really understanding some of the tools that I learned in the General Assembly, like results-based accountability, understanding that you just don't spend dollars, but you're accountable for those outcomes that those dollars represent. And it's something that we had started to do in the General Assembly and do it to a certain extent, but I thought if we could begin to think about the resources that come into a city from all over, from the state, from the federal government, from our taxpayers, and have real outcomes that we'd like to see manifest, and make sure that those dollars actually help us achieve those. So it's aspirational in some respects because it's easier said than done, but I thought it was important to try.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So that leads us into question number 2. Now, Mayor Harp, we know your job as mayor isn't your typical 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Walk the Ethnic Online readers through a typical day, a typical week in the life of Mayor Toni Harp.
Well, I work 7 days a week, and I work at least between 10 and 15 hours a day. And that's every day. There's some days when it's not exactly that, but every single day I have something that I do on behalf of the city that takes me away from my personal life.
Did you hear that, Ethnic Online readers? 7 days a week, our mayor is doing something for the city of New Haven. That's awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate that sacrifice. So you're about to conclude your first term as mayor for the city of New Haven. What has been some of your biggest challenges and to date, and what are your goals to overcome them?
I think that one of the biggest challenges that we have as a city is making sure that our residents have jobs that provide a living wage, a wage that will have them demand market level housing and a life that can be sustained without subsidy. Mm-hmm. That's our biggest challenge. It's huge. We are working on it, trying to make sure that the good jobs, because we are the center of jobs for this region, but most of those jobs don't go to New Haven residents. A lot of them do. Mm-hmm. But we're working really hard to see that more and more of those really good jobs go to New Haven residents, that our young people who are in our schools, who graduate from our colleges, are prepared to work in the economy that exists here today. It's very different than has ever existed here. We are a biotech economy, we're an IT economy, and it requires very different skills than a lot of folks have. So it requires a lot of re-engineering of what people have that they can take to the job market to sell on their behalf. And so we're working on that. It's going to take a lot of work to get us there.
Yeah. Does that mean that you work with some of the major corporations whose corporations are here in New Haven to work with individuals?
So the interesting thing about New Haven is that we really don't have major corporations. We're about to get our first major corporation very soon. That's Alexion Pharmaceutical. They make orphan drugs. But okay, so it's a pharmaceutical company. They make orphan drugs. They're scientists. They're people who work in labs. Different skill set than what was here, what we needed here 30 years ago, when we had a lot of manufacturing still in our city. And so we have a lot of smaller businesses that support our hospital. Yale New Haven Hospital is now one of the largest employers in the state. So it's certainly the largest employer in our city. And again, it's a hospital, and yes, there are some entry-level jobs, and there are some jobs that you can get that don't pay well. But the ones that pay well require that you have a very specialized education. And so we are working to try to assure that we can get more and more people ready for those kinds of jobs, and those who are ready to get them into those jobs. We also have Yale University, another large employer. And again, the same is true. We want to make sure that the people who live here have access to the good jobs that are there.
Right.
And so it's a struggle.
Yeah. It's a struggle, and but it's a good goal to have, though. It's a great goal that I think everybody will benefit from.
Absolutely. You have to have meaningful work that pays well so that you can take care of yourself and your family.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
So we're coming up, 19 months since you've been mayor?
19 months, not quite 2 years.
19 months. So can you share with the Ethnic Online readers, Mayor Harp, a few success stories, that kind of warm your heart since you've been mayor?
Well, one of the things that made New Haven unique and was a problem from the time I was on the Board of Aldermen nearly 30 years ago while I was in the state Senate, is that there was a fence between Hamden and New Haven. It had been there for 50 years.
50 years?
50 years. And that meant that particularly the elderly that were along the fence and others that had lived there for years would have to travel all the way through New Haven to get to downtown when they could have gone 2 or 3 blocks to Dixwell Avenue and gotten downtown. And so one of the things I'm proudest of, and you can see an exhibit there of it is that we took the fence down. And the fence it felt like the Berlin Wall. It's down.
I was going to say that, yeah.
And a lot of people were concerned that things would happen between the two towns. And the thought was that as we remodeled that area, we would make the New Haven side look as good as the Hamden side, if not better. And when I went out there to take the fence down, the New Haven side I was very proud of how it looked. And so I feel humbled that finally, after all of these years, that fence is down.
50 years, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a little piece of it right there.
Yeah. So you decided, and I'm sure there's other success stories that...
Well, we've done a lot of things having to do with our young people and making sure. The first thing that happened after I was elected, there were a number of young people killed on our streets. And we decided as an administration that we didn't want to have that happen anymore. So we've developed community youth stat that identifies these young people, works with them, works with their families, tries to re-engage them in school and in their interests so that they'll become productive citizens tomorrow. There'll be a graduation of our first summer school. Most of the young people who went to that summer school got help with reading, mathematics, but they also got certifications in OSHA 10 certification, CPR certification, and also worked in team building, that sort of thing. And they will graduate tomorrow, and they're still in high school. But with those certifications, when they graduate, if they decide not to go on, they're already more employable than they ever would have been. Absolutely.
And it gives them a purpose.
Yes.
Gives them a purpose. It takes them off the street. They have a goal, things to do. And that's awesome. And I'm going to venture to say that the murder rate and the crime rate has reduced.
Well, it has. We are one of the cities that we do real community-based policing. We just don't take the community-oriented police dollars from the federal government. We really do it here in New Haven, probably to a greater degree than any other city in America. We've added 105 police officers, and we also have a project that was started at the state level called Project Longevity. And between our youth stat, Project Longevity, our community focus with our police, we have seen a drop in crime along every area that is measured, including murders, shots fired, and that sort of thing. And while we've had 10 deaths this year, normally it's mostly young people. This year we've only had one who was in high school. And so I really believe that this multi-pronged effort has made all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And I see the police walking the blocks,
yep.
And that's how it was when I was a kid. You would see the police walking, and it acts as a nice deterrent as well. It kind of makes you think twice about.
And they get to know the neighborhood. They know the kids. They know even the kids that are in the gangs, and they know when, and they talk to them, and they oftentimes they mentor sometimes some of these young people and have been the difference between life and death. So there's a really good relationship between the police in New Haven and the community. I think more so than anywhere else.
That's awesome. Setting the tone for the other cities, right?
Well, trying to.
So you decided, Mayor Harp, earlier this year to run for a second term.
Yes.
And you were nominated by the Democratic Party, I think last month, I believe it was, something like that. So with all of your experiences, you could easily go into the private sector and do very well if you decided to do that. But why run for a second term, and what can the citizens of New Haven look forward to?
Well, I think it's really important that some of the changes that we've created are institutionalized so that people throughout government and throughout our town, we they agree that this is the direction we should go in. They support it, and they're willing to invest their time and attention in it so that when I'm no longer mayor, that somebody who just won't come and change everything, but we'll still be invested in our young people. We'll still have our police who are out in our community, working with our community, that we will build. I plan to build youth centers. We're about to start on our teen center over on Gulf Street. Hopefully by next year this time we will have broken ground for the Dixwell Q House, that we want to do something over in Trowbridge, at Trowbridge Square for the Hill community, and we really want to make sure that these things are in place. So there are plans now. I want to be able to see them materialize, and so that's why I'm running again.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You know, Mayor Harp, again, I can't thank you enough, for taking time out of your busy day. We know it's not 9 to 5. I think it's, about 5 o'clock now, and I'm sure you've got more meetings and things to do for the city of New Haven. So again, thank you so much for taking out time. And we look forward to seeing you around the city of New Haven.
I look forward to it.
All right, thank you so much.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.